It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Shlomo and Esther Krausz. We're here in your beautiful apartment in Hanoch in Jerusalem. And Shlomo, you were born in 1933 in Kovno in Lithuania.
Yeah.
That's quite remarkable.
I don't remember it from then, but in 1938 we went back to visit my grandparents. And I remember everything from there.
And have your family, were there many years in Kovno? Were they...
Born a generation in Kovno. That's on my mother's side. My father was Hungarian.
And what is your earliest memories about Kovno? What do you remember your earliest memories?
Remember they had balconies, little balconies, and it amazed me because I haven't seen it before. And I was a bit mischievous, and I saw people going underneath, and I took an orange peel and I threw it on somebody. And he came up the stairs and he was screaming and shouting. And my grandmother didn't know what to say. And she opened the door and I hid under a skirt. You know, the women in those days had big wide skirts. I hid under the skirt and she said, there's nobody here, a young boy, there's nobody here. And off we went. But it was a bit frightening.
And Shlomo, your family, was it a very religious family?
Yes.
What did your father do in Kovno?
My father didn't come from Kovno. My mother came from Kovno. My father came from Hungary.
But what did he do when he was living in Kovno?
He didn't live in Kovno. My mother went to Berlin University, and my father came from Hungary. His father was a very well-known great rabbi. My father's father, the Archerov, was known, big Poisek. And
in Hungary?
In Hungary. And and my father went to Germany on business or something like that. And in those days, like Rashi, what did he make a living on? On making wine. My grandfather was the same. He didn't take wages from the community, although he was a Rav in the community there, but he made wine and sold wine. And he has four sons, and they helped to sell the wine.
And you have a picture of your parents? If you could show the picture.
Yeah, no, that's in Kovno, yeah. That's my grandparents.
Yeah.
This is my grandparents.
It's your grandparents?
My grandparents. And this is a picture of my mother, my sister Judy and me. There you go.
And Judy was older?
Judy's 2 years older, yes.
And you also have pictures from Kovno? These are the originals.
This was Kovno. And this was Kovno. This was on the balcony. It was, and my uncle Shlomo Trachtenberg, who was a great friend of who from America? What's the name? Famous name in America, one of the Gedolim. You must remember. I've forgotten.
It's amazing. These are the original pictures from Kovno.
Yeah.
You can see the houses. And do you remember?
And this is here with his sister.
I remember Kovno because in 1938, before the war, we were living in Sheffield, England, and we went back to visit my grandparents. And we begged them to come to England, but they wouldn't come.
How did you manage to leave Lithuania to get to England? Do you know how your parents managed?
Yeah, well, my mother was in Berlin University. She was a teacher, And my father came from she came from Lithuania, Kovno, to Berlin. And my father came from Hungary, where his father was a very famous rabbi. And he also came to Germany. Everybody came to Berlin. It was like London. People come to London, came to Berlin. And he was in business there, and he met my mother.
And then did they decide to live in Kovno?
And then, no. Then...
But you were born in Kovno?
I was born in Kovno. I don't think my father was living there. I was born because my mother had me with her parents. So I was born in Kovno.
And your sister was born there as well?
No, my sister was born in Arch, in Hungary.
In Hungary? Wow.
My sister was born in Hungary.
Because the
My father's parents was a famous rabbi. And he lived in the village called Arch, and my sister was born there.
And
so I had a sister born in Hungary, me born in Kovno, and I had another sister born in England.
And Shlomo, do you remember that trip when you went back to Lithuania? Do you remember going back in '38?
I remember coming back. Coming back from Kovno. It was already before the war, well before the war. It was still in 1938, but the Gestapo were very active there. And I remember we were on a train coming back, and my mother was terrified. So I didn't know what it was all. I was only a kid. I didn't know what happened. And she said, "Come on, we're going to jump off the train. We're going to jump off the train." So I said, "Well, we're going back home. What are you doing jumping off?" But come on, we jumped off the train. And then we saw the Gestapo examining the passengers on the train. Then we understood that she didn't want to be examined. She still didn't have a British passport. Now, if they would have caught her, she was very clever. My mother was wide awake. She jumped off the train and waited for the Gestapo to pass her where she was sitting. When she went past, she came back on the train again, just in time, because the train was just starting. That's how she was terrified, because she didn't have a British passport. If she would have had a British passport, she would have been all right, but still had a foreign passport.
Shlomo, this is a picture of your grandparents on your mother's side.
Yeah.
And what was their names?
Their name, Trachtenberg.
And your grandfather was an artist?
He was an artist, yeah.
And when you went back to Kovno and you asked them if to leave, they didn't want to leave? In '38, when you went back?
No. Well, I was a small boy in 38.
But your mother...
I was 5 years old. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I understood. They asked them to come to Sheffield with us.
And what happened?
We saw what was... my mother saw what was happening, that the Germans were very influential there, but they never thought they were so bad. Nobody ever dreamt how bad they would be.
And do you know what the fate of your grandparents, what happened to them?
We don't know exactly, but they say that in that area all the fathers and sons were taken to a fort.
The 9th fort, most probably.
9th fort, and yeah.
And they never survived?
No. They shot them and fell in the fort.
In the pits, they had pits, very big pits. And Shlomo, any other family? This family that we have the picture.
Yeah.
Do you know what the fate of... Shlomo, do you know what happened to the rest of your family?
From Kovno?
Yeah.
Yes, we had, they were all killed except one auntie that was married to my mother's brother. She survived Bergen-Belsen.
She was taken to Bergen-Belsen?
And she survived. She was the only survivor of the whole family.
And it was a very large family.
Big family, and she was the only survivor. Bergen-Belsen. I remember Auntie Ida. That's her here. That's her there, and that's her husband, the Shlomo Krausz.
If you can
He was a very big educator.
It's these two over here. Wow.
And this, this is.
And Shlomo.
This is my mother.
Did Shlomo survive?
No.
He didn't survive.
No, Shlomo didn't survive. His wife, Ida, survived.
And you met her?
She was the only survivor.
And you met her after the war?
Of course. She survived Bergen-Belsen.
And where did you meet her? Did she come to England?
Yeah, well, she came, we got to her, we went there, I can't remember. We had somebody, one of the Rabbonim helped us to locate her and bring her over. I can't remember exactly what happened, but well, I mean, we were very close. And it's the only family, human being left from the whole of Kovno. And now her children, we're very friendly. Auntie Ida had a son called Shlomo Trachtenberg, and he lives in Beit Vegan, and he's a headmaster in a school. And of course we're like brothers. And Shlomo Trachtenberg.
So this is his father. This is a picture of his parents.
No, he's not, because my Auntie Ida, her husband was killed, and in the DP camps, she married somebody else.
Oh, she married somebody else.
She remarried.
She remarried.
And the son, she remarried in the DP camps, and her son is called Shlomo.
And he lives in
Beit Vegan. He's a headmaster, a lovely fellow. We like brothers. It's the only relative I've got left from the whole big family.
And Shlomo, do you know how your parents managed to get to England, to Sheffield?
Yeah, I'll tell you, because my father's brother, Uncle Armin, he came to England a long time already. What it was like this, that Uncle Armin, my father's younger brother, with another brother, there were 4 brothers, and they came to England to sell wine of my grandfather. In those days, that's like how Rashi lived like that. He sold wine. My grandfather was the same thing. His parnosa was making wine, and the 2 sons came over to England to sell the wine, and then that's how they started coming in England.
And what do you remember of Sheffield?
Oh, I remember a lot there, because my parents, after they married, my father had a parnosa there. He worked for a factory making knives and forks, and then eventually he made his own factory. He was very smart. My father was very smart, and in fact he invented 4 machines in the manufacturing of knives. 2 of them went very well. One was like this, and one didn't get developed. But he was very clever. My father was very technically minded, and he was very interested in not only making knives for a parnosa, he was interested in manufacture.
Sheffield is very well known for cutlery.
Of course, Sheffield and Zollingen in Germany are the only 2 places in the world where they made cutlery. Now that it's made in the Far East. But in those days, Sheffield and Zollingen in Germany were the only 2 places that made cutlery, nowhere else. There was no Far East. Now Far East everything.
And in Sheffield, did you go to a Jewish cheder?
No. Well, I'll tell you what it was. In Sheffield, there were 2,000 Jews there, but there was hardly a minyan of Shlomo Shabbos. It was very bad for my father didn't allow me even to go to cheder, because the teachers, the rebbes on the cheder were Machal Shabbos. It's a very terrible place. I mean, they took They had to take teachers who were teachers, but they were not Shomer Shabbos. I remember our Talmud Torah teacher. Well, actually, my father never let me go to Talmud Torah. My mother taught me everything. The Talmud Torah teacher was a very nice fella. I must say, a very lovely fellow. But he and his brother were teachers in the Goyish schools, and they were not Shomer Shabbos. Their father was a Shomer Shabbos, but those two sons were teachers in the Goyish schools and in the Talmud Torah, because they didn't have other teachers. So in other words, the Talmud Torah had teachers Mechalel Shabbos. Terrible.
And did you go to public school?
I went to school. I went to Nether Edge School. My father wouldn't let me go to Cheder because of that. My mother taught me.
And the school that you went to, was it a public school?
It was a public school. There was 700 boys and 5 were Jews.
Only 5?
5, and sometimes it was 7, 5 and 7.
Did you ever experience any anti-Semitism in the school?
Yes, during when they blew up the hotel, remember?
The King David. That
King
was
David.
in 47 later on.
Yeah, I got beat up then.
You got beaten up.
Yeah, but otherwise it's amazing. There was a lot of Jew hatred. Even some of the teachers hated Jews. But there was no choice.
And
That's how we lived.
Did you have non-Jewish friends?
Yeah, very good friends. My best friend was non-Jewish.
And he came to your home?
He came sometimes, not very often.
And you went to his home?
No.
Could you wear a kippah at school? Or a cap?
No. Just a minute, did I wear a kippah? I don't think so.
And on Shabbat, did you have to go to school on Shabbat?
No. Some schools had to be open on Shabbos, but my school wasn't. I didn't have to go. But I had to leave early on Friday. That was sometimes the problem.
And Shlomo, was there a big Beit Knesset? Was there a synagogue?
Yeah, there were 2. There was Wilson Road, which was a town shul. It was not officially it was Orthodox, but it wasn't really Orthodox. I don't think you'd find a million Shomer Shabbos there. That was Wilson Road shul, and then the other shul was it became a lot smaller. It was Brunswick Street. That was a much smaller shul, which did have a minyan of Shomer Shabbos. So there was Wilson Road, the big shul. Well, actually, we damped there Shabbos morning. I don't know, my father wanted to keep up his membership there. Damped there Sunday Shabbos morning, and so it was a long half an hour walk. And smaller shul was very near us, Brunswick Street.
And do you remember your bar mitzvah?
Yeah, I do, because it was in Sheffield, and my mother came from Kovno, was very, very friendly with the Rebbetzin of Gateshead. You've heard of Gateshead, the very plum
Yeshiva,
town.
the very yeshiva.
And my mother knew the Rebbetzin of Gateshead from Kovno. They were friends in Kovno. So, believe it or not, the Gateshead Rav with the Rebbetzin came to Sheffield for my bar mitzvah. I mean, that was an amazing thing, such a frum rabbi to come to a place like Sheffield. But they did it for my mother. It was an amazing thing. In Sheffield, I'd never seen such a rabbi, from Gateshead. But they especially came for my bar mitzvah. Yeah. And there was in Sheffield, there was a fellow called Donsky, Reverend Donsky. My mother knew him from Kovno, and she got him the job in Sheffield. She got him out of Kovno, and she got him the job in Sheffield. He was like the second chazan. They had the chazan, and he was like the assistant Cousin, in the shul. So at the parnosa, she brought him over, she saved his life, bring him out to Kovno, and she got him a parnosa. And the wife, she got him there were two sisters there, and he married one.
Wow. And how long did you stay in Sheffield?
Yeah, is this on all the time? Oh wow, I didn't realise that.
You're doing very well. Do you remember how long you stayed in Sheffield?
Oh, of course. I mean, I was brought up in Sheffield.
Till what age did you remain in Sheffield?
Let me see. Well, when I was 14, I came to Sheffield very young, 3-4 years old. And then when I was 14, they sent me to yeshiva. I made school certificate, and I made it a year earlier, especially that I could go to yeshiva when I was 14, very young. I went to Gateshead yeshiva. But then I wanted to take higher school certificate as well, so that I could go into university. I wanted to go to university. Anyway, so I went to yeshiva, and I studied a bit English subjects there, and I stayed for about 1.5 years, and I came back to school.
Do you remember who your Rabbonim were in Gateshead?
Yeah.
Who were the Rabbonim? Do you remember the names?
Rabbi Shakovitsky. And his rabbis, and my mother knew the Shakovitskys, the rabbis and Shakovitskys from Kovno. And so when we came, we stayed at their house.
And they came to your bar mitzvah?
Yeah. And the gates of the Rav, I mean, it was something outstanding, the gates of the rabbi. So it's my Irakoides, gates of Irakoides, to come to a place like Sheffield. It was a hard dominion, Shabbos, he came to my bar mitzvah.
And can I ask, Shlomo, in Sheffield, were there other survivors, a lot of survivors who came after the war? Did they come to Sheffield as well?
There were, but a lot of the religious ones left. There was 2,000 Jews in Sheffield, not survivors from the war, from before. And some of them, I remember, they came to Sheffield, some religious ones, for a very short time, because there was no religious Jews in Sheffield.
And did your father and mother ever want to leave to go to London or
They wanted to, but my father's Panosa was in Sheffield. He had a cutlery factory. His whole Panosa was there. That's why. What happened was later on, my sister got married to somebody from Manchester, David Reich, and we very shortly we moved. We bought a house in Manchester, which is not far, 30 miles from Sheffield. But it was difficult for my father still to commute. He was thinking of commuting, to Sheffield. What can you do? Panosa is Panosa.
Yeah.
So we had to live in Sheffield, and slowly, when my father retired, we moved over to Manchester.
And you grew up in Manchester from then onwards?
Yeah.
And did you manage to go to university?
No, I didn't go. I didn't go in then because I went to the yeshiva, and then what was it now? I went to the yeshiva, and I stayed in yeshiva. I liked it. I stayed. I think I went till 22, 23 till I got married. I stayed in yeshiva there.
And who were the Rabbonim that you dealt with later on in Gateshead? Do you remember the names of the other yeshivas?
Well, the Rosh Yeshiva. Well, first of all, the Rav of Gateshead was Rabbi Shekovitsky. And he had a son, my age, Mordechai, which we were very friendly. He was a very clever fella, and he later on became a prominent rabbi in South Africa, in Johannesburg.
That's what Shekovitsky.
Oh, you know Shekovitsky?
Sure. Everybody knows.
Yeah?
He was very, very influential in South Africa. It's because of Rabbi Shekovitsky that the community became full.
You're not joking. So this Shekovitsky was the friend of my mother in Kovno.
Wow.
And this Shekovitsky in South Africa, Mordechai, his name was Mordechai, the same age as me. We were very good friends. That's right. And I remember what happened, he had a brother-in-law called Rakov. And when the gates of the Rov died, the community decided who's going to be in the next rabbi. Either this Mordechai, who was Kent's father, or Rakov. And they decided for Rakov. He was, in other words, the son-in-law of Rabbi Shikavitsky. He became the Rabbi Gateshead, and Mordechai was a bit upset. He was very upset. After all, he was the son of the Gateshead Rav, and I remember he was crying. Never.
But he did amazing work in South Africa.
Oh, and then he was very upset that he didn't become the Rabbi Gateshead. After all, he was a son, not the son-in-law. I was very friendly with him. It's my age. And anyway, he very shortly left to South Africa.
And let me ask, when did you first know about what happened in the Shoah?
So, we knew, in 1939, we knew what was happening.
You already knew?
In Kovno was one of the first places.
And did you ever meet with Rabbi Schoenfeld?
My mother met with him, spoke to him. Because my mother spoke to him. I think about my Auntie Ida that was in Bergen-Belsen, so Schoenfeld. Into me, he helped to get her out something.
So he brought many, before the war and during the war and after the war, he brought many Yidden. He saved many Yidden.
Tremendous connection. Yeah, my mother had some connection with him.
And can I ask, Mr. Shlomo, when did you come to Israel?
We hear, what are we here about? In last day of 2009.
And you happy you made the decision to come?
Oh, we
very
wanted to come.
Very happy.
So Shlomo, if I can ask you, what message do you give to your grandchildren, to the future generations? Because you've seen so many things. You've seen the destruction of Europe, the rebuilding of the State of Israel.
Ich sage in Yiddish, sie sollen sein ehrliche Jiden. If we're like going smell, some people say, you should be a great rabbi, you should be great this guy. I don't say that. Just, sie sollen sein ehrliche Jiden. That's all. That's all I ask from them.
And
don't ask for big things.
Ehrliche Yidden is to be like an honest Yid, to be a mensch, really.
Ehrliche Yidden, that's the most important thing. So nearly everybody, nobody says that. Most people say, so Oisvax na God will be soil. That's what they usually say. So Oisvax na God will be soil. I don't say that.
You know Yiddish?
I don't say that. I say there's no.
And Esther, how's it like being married to Shlomo? You've been married for Ken and Hora many years?
This is our second marriage. And we are, yes, many years already. 35 at least.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
35 years, wow. And have you ever been back to Lithuania on a visit? Or would you ever go back?
I would, but I think I didn't want to travel anymore. I didn't feel so well.
Well, so Shlomo, I really want to thank you and Esther. It's been such a tremendous honor and a privilege to be here and to meet somebody who comes a Litvak.
So
our family comes from Mariampol, which is the south of Kovno, and I was in Kovno.
Yeah.
And it is such a schut to meet somebody who was born in Kovno. And you should
pleasure is mine.
You should just have, you and your wife, you should just have mazel bracha at Mavis room and just nachas from your family, and just to be gesund.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful to both of you.
Nice meeting you as well.
It's been such a schut, I can't tell you.
Gesund und stark.
And your message is so ehrlich, it's so wonderful. It's so special.
Just coming.
So Shlomo, really, thank you so much. Wow.
It's my pleasure. Sure.
Would you bring